Imagine standing at the absolute peak of the world you have total, unchallengeable control over. One-third of the human population, every resource, every luxury, every human life within thousands of miles is yours to command. With a single word, if you want someone dead, they vanish. If you want a city leveled, it burns. You are quite literally a living God among men. Now imagine that despite this unimaginable absolute power, you spend your midnight hours sitting alone in a dim, drafty military tent on the freezing northern frontier. Your body is broken by chronic illness. Your closest advisors are quietly plotting your assassination. Your children are dying of the plague. The empire you lead is crumbling under the weight of economic collapse and barbarian invasions. What keeps you from breaking? What prevents you from turning into a ruthless, bloodthirsty tyrant? Or worse, slipping into a deep, paralyzing pit of depression and despair? The man in that tent was Marcus Aurelius, and the psychological armor he forged in those dark, lonely midnights wasn't built out of gold or steel. It was forged out of an unshakable philosophy. Today, you are staring at your phone or your computer screen, feeling overwhelmed by the chaotic noise of the modern world. You are struggling with overthinking, drowning in anxiety, chasing validation from people you don't even respect, and constantly postponing your true potential. You feel like a victim of your circumstances. But here is the shocking truth. Your environment isn't the problem. Your mind is. In this video, we are stripping away the academic fluff. We are diving into the raw, battle-tested psychology of the philosopher-king. These are the 7 brutal Stoic life lessons that Marcus Aurelius used to conquer his internal chaos. If you listen closely, apply the shifts and stick with us until the absolute number 1, most powerful lesson at the end. Your relationship with reality will change forever. You are about to learn how to build an unshakable mental fortress. Let's begin. To truly understand the weight of the wisdom you are about to receive, we must understand the man behind the journal. Marcus Aurelius was not a university professor sitting in a comfortable armchair, theorizing about how life ought to be lived. He was the emperor of Rome from 161 to 180 AD. He was a man who lived under a microscope, constantly burdened by the highest stakes imaginable. During his reign, Rome was struck by the Antonine Plague, a devastating pandemic that wiped out millions of citizens and hollowed out his military ranks. He was forced to spend over a decade fighting brutal, exhausting campaigns along the freezing Danube River against Germanic tribes. He buried 8 of his children. His beloved wife passed away. His most trusted general, Avidius Cassius, betrayed him and attempted to steal the imperial throne. Yet, throughout this non-stop cascade of personal tragedy and geopolitical catastrophe, Marcus never broke. He didn't write his famous book, Meditations, for a public audience, for fame or for profit. Meditations was his private psychological journal. It was his daily self-correction protocol, a raw, honest conversation written to himself, by himself, in the dead of night, to preserve his sanity, his discipline, and his soul. When you read or hear his words, you are not reading a lecture. You are reading the secret, battle-tested code of a sovereign mind. He discovered that while you cannot control the chaos of the world, you can completely master your response to it. Let's unlock his playbook. Marcus Aurelius, quote, Do not let the future disturb you, for you will arrive there if you must. With what capacity for reason you now apply to the present. Marcus Aurelius spent years of his life living in dirty, freezing military camps, surrounded by thousands of dying men, uncertain if his legions would hold the line or if Rome would fall by next week. He was constantly besieged by massive future uncertainties. Will the plague return? Will my son turn out to be a tyrant? Will the economy survive the winter? If he had allowed his imagination to wander down every single catastrophic future pathway, the sheer crushing weight of his responsibilities would have paralyzed his mind. He managed this existential dread by practicing radical presence. He realized that the future is an abstract, non-existent ghost. The only thing that exists is the exact, immediate 5-minute window directly in front of him. He realized that the exact same reason, logic, and internal discipline he used to handle today's problems would be perfectly available to handle tomorrow's crises when they finally arrived. He anchored his mind entirely in the trenches of the present moment. You are drowning in a sea of your own imagination. You spend an immense amount of your daily cognitive energy trapped in a vicious loop of overthinking and anticipatory anxiety. You worry about what will happen 6 months from now if you don't hit your career goals. You lay awake at 3 a.m., paralyzing your nervous system by playing a horror movie of worst-case scenarios over and over again in your mind. This future-oriented anxiety is completely useless. It changes absolutely zero external outcomes. It merely drains the energy, clarity, and drive you desperately need right now to execute your current tasks. Overthinking is an illusion of control. You believe that by obsessing over the future, you are somehow preparing for it. But you aren't preparing. You are just marinating your brain in stress hormones. Look at your hands. Look at the room you are sitting in right now. You are completely safe in this immediate second. You didn't survive your past difficult days by predicting them perfectly years in advance. You survived them by executing solutions in the moment they arrived. Shrink your time horizon down. If you can master this exact 5-minute window, you can master your entire life. Execute the 5-minute tunnel target whenever your mind begins to spiral out of control into future anxiety. Stop whatever you're doing. Drop your gaze and cut your time horizon down to the next 5 minutes. Ask yourself this exact question. What is the single most productive action I can take within the borders of the next 300 seconds? If you are working on a project, your target is to type one single paragraph. If you are cleaning your room, your target is to clear one shelf. Completely ignore the massive mountain of the future. Shrink your universe down to a tiny point of immediate execution. Crush that task and move to the next 5 minutes with unshakable focus. The words you have heard today are not an ancient, dusty lecture meant to be filed away in your brain as interesting trivia. They are a high-value blueprint for survival. They are a direct, urgent transmission from a man who sat at the absolute peak of human power, navigating the exact same internal storms that are currently tearing through your life. The next time you feel your mind slipping into the paralyzing trap of overthinking, remember Marcus Aurelius sitting in his drafty tent cutting his time, horizon down to the immediate present. The next time you feel your ego fracturing from a passive-aggressive comment or a public insult, remember the Emperor of Rome choosing absolute indifference, treating their toxicity as completely irrelevant to his character. The next time you want to hit the snooze button, procrastinate on your deep work, or run away into a comfortable distraction, remember that you were built to stand tall, face the cold wind, and build an unshakable legacy. Stop living your life as if you have 10,000 years left on the clock. Stop waiting for a magical moment where your environment becomes perfectly easy, quiet, and supportive. The world will never adjust its frequency to accommodate your comfort. It is your job to build a gravity so powerful, a discipline so relentless, and a mind so unshakable that the world is forced to adjust to yours.